Hi, Hannah. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me on this call. I really, truly appreciate you sharing this with us. You've been through the ringer. Hey?
Yes.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
know that your story is going to be helpful. And I just really appreciate you being vulnerable about it. So why don't you tell us who you are?
Yeah. My name is Hannah. I work full time as a physical therapist assistant and have a little side gig of personal training and have my own nutrition coaching company now. And my story started when I was 19. I'm currently 34, so it's been a long time since it all first started, but there's been a lot that's happened since then. Um, so when I was 19, I started school up in La Crosse area. I was gonna go to the tech school for physical therapy assistant program, which is what I currently am. Um, until about a month when I first got into the program, I started having horrible stomach pains. And I thought it was my back. It felt like a lot was coming from my back. I was going to the chiropractor, just wasn't getting the relief until I
Hmm.
woke up in the middle of the night and it was excruciating. So I called home to my parents and they said, go to the ER and let us know what's going on and then, we'll be up. So I did. And it turns out it was pancreatitis is how it kind of all started. Um, but the crazy thing, I mean, to be so young and to start getting pancreatitis, there's a lot that, uh, has to be looked into to see why this is. Because usually pancreatitis happens with people that are longtime alcoholics, um, or just, overall just bad digestion and bad health. So this was very rare for me as a 19-year-old, and I was in good shape. I was in good health, played sports all through high school. So this definitely was very surprising when it came up.
But our
Um,
bodies do what they do. It's
yeah,
like, I actually hear so many rare things that happen to people. It's like our bodies still can fail, right? So, did
yes.
you have any other symptoms? Like, did you have nausea? Did you have pain in your actual like pancreas area, or it was mostly in your back?
To start off, I would say it was more heightened in my back.
Hmm.
That was, I mean, I felt a little bit in the in the front of the abdomen, but primarily that it just was kind of slowly coming on. And it was in the back. But the night that I woke up with that excruciating pain, I mean, that was abdominal pain. It was like it was all the way around. Like somebody was
Wow.
like putting like a band on my stomach, almost on my abdomen. It was pretty
Wow.
excruciating. So that when I went into the ER, they ended up admitting me, and I ended up my first hospital stay was 9 days total, and they just couldn't figure it out. They had me had me NPO, which means I could not have anything by mouth, no food, water, couldn't even do like a feeding tube or anything. The only thing was just an IV just to get fluids going because they wanted everything in my system to calm down because the pancreas is primary your digestive organ. So
Yeah.
anything that goes to your stomach, goes to the pancreas. Um, they did all kinds of testing to see if there's different things that could have flared it up. Um, but it was, I think the frustrating part was because I was um, being a college student in a party town. They kept asking how much I drink, if I'm a big drinker, and I kept telling them no, just because when I went to school to be a PTA, I knew it was a hard program. I mean, I was on the wait list for a couple of years, but this is something that I've always wanted to do since I was actually a freshman in high school. I had a couple of knee surgeries, and I ended up doing therapy, and then that's how I was like, this is what I want to do. So I knew it was going to be tough and I really had to, stay focused with it. And so I kept saying no. Anytime my mom would leave the room, the doctors would come in and same thing, like just over and
Yeah.
over again, asking about the drinking. And I'm like, it
What are you
doesn't
hiding?
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not happening. Like, it's no, I was at work. And the other thing was it was Oktoberfest, which is also huge in the
Okay.
area. So party fest, whatever, but I was not partaking. I just started working at Menards. I was there for about a month.
Yeah.
Um, so, so they couldn't really figure it out. They thought, well, let's start with, maybe taking the gallbladder out. 'Cause sometimes a bad gallbladder can cause, pancreas issues too. But they're like, let's discharge you from the hospital, see how things go, and then we'll go from there. Well, like a day after I got out, I went right back in because I was still just absolutely miserable. At that point, it was pain, it was nausea, it was everything.
Yep.
I was very weak. And so they
And
said,
you
yep,
must
let's
have
just
been scared.
yeah, not
That's like
knowing,
scary. Not knowing
yeah,
what's happening and then knowing that they're just as confused is like such a scary place to be in. Ugh.
exactly. Yeah. And, the hospital is the first time, I've ever, been there. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so I went back in. They ended up removing my gallbladder then. Um, and I had a rough recovery with that just from being in the hospital for 9 days. So I actually lived back with my parents while I was recovering because I couldn't live on my own at that time, and which is about an hour and a half away or so from the school. So I had to put school on pause while I was recovering, and then a couple weeks later I went back up to school, and I had missed a lot of schooling. And like I said, it's a 2 year program, and it's a very intense program because you learn a lot in just the 2 years. They only accept you if you take all your general courses ahead of time because they want you to focus primarily on this program.
So now
Um,
you have all of the stress from
yeah,
you're such a responsible person and you're trying to do all the right things, and then life
yeah,
hits you and we're not in
yep,
control of it, right?
right, exactly. So I was like, I don't know, I'm way behind. So I met with all three of the instructors in the program, and they said, listen, you've got three options. You can either one, just get to work and, just stay on track with everybody else and just really do a lot of hard work to get caught up, or you can drop a couple of the classes and then just extend it to a 3 year program instead of a 2 year program, or you can drop it all right now and start over next fall. Um, and it was a no-brainer. I left there and I'm like, I'm gonna do it because this was, I mean, like I said, I was a freshman in high school. This is what I wanted to do. I had no backup plan because I was determined. But yeah, absolutely no backup plan. So I, so I got to work. Thankfully, my mom has always worked at the clinic in my hometown, and so she knew one of the physical therapists at the hospital, which full circle is where I work now, which I'll get to that. But and she had asked her like, "Hey, do you have some time where you can work with Hannah on getting caught up?" So I came back home one night and went to the clinic, and she worked with me on it was I think the unit on the knee, which I missed like I said like 3 weeks of. So she helped me, took me all through it. Actually, it was the knee and the ankle. I missed two big units.
Wow.
And then my classmates, which I've just started, meeting them, and it's only been a month in, so didn't know them well. I mean, they helped me so much with whenever they would study, they would have me, right there with them, and they would get me caught up.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, and then
I
I
love
went
that.
to yeah, so I took my exams that I missed, and then with every exam, you have to do a practical, which is like you're one-on-one with one of the instructors, and then you have one of your classmates as a patient, and then you have to take it, through everything that's going on in that body part or whatever we were working on. So one of my classmates was my patient, and I went through the knee and the ankle, and I completely aced them. So
Yeah, you
it
did.
was incredible. Yeah. So I mean, I was determined to keep going, and I mean, it was rough, but and unfortunately, although it's just kind of the beginning of it all. Um, so, a few months later, I was on winter break, ended up back in the hospital again for another
Is
seven
that the
days.
same kind of pain?
And then this
Yeah,
time
the
it was
same.
the nausea too. So the nausea started becoming an issue at this point. Um, and so yeah, I was back in the hospital again. Same thing. They did all kinds of tests. But because I lost so much weight the first time I was in, they had given me a feeding tube this time, which was absolutely horrible. It was one that goes
Oh,
through your nose and in your stomach. And so I had that, which was brutal. Never
oh,
want to go through that again.
that's
Um,
awful.
yeah, I spent my New Year's Eve, New Year's Day there, the Rose Bowl, watch the Badgers play the Rose Bowl. Um,
Oh,
but thankfully, my mom and dad they were my lifesavers. I mean, I
yeah.
could not have made it through any of this without them, and they were by my side
Mhm.
all the time. My mom stayed every night with me there, and the hospital was fantastic. The nurses were amazing. They made sure that I was comfortable, that my mom was comfortable. They brought in cots for both my parents. Um,
Wow.
but then after, I think it was after 5 days, they transferred me to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota
Yeah.
um, for a little more extensive, care research, kind of see if they can figure it out. Um, Unfortunately, they couldn't figure it out either. But once I had this episode calm down, they just discharged me home and, basically said, come back and there's some other tests we could possibly do. Um, and then,
That's so scary at this point.
yeah,
You're like,
yeah. So then
am I dying right now?
it was, yeah, it was crazy. And it was crazy just seeing, my friends experiencing their college life and enjoying it. And I'm spending my time either studying or in the hospital, in the doctor's office. And actually, I'd gotten fired from working at Menards because I missed so much work with being in the
Yeah.
hospital.
Mm,
Because I was only there for a short amount of time. They're like, you've missed too much. We
yeah.
can't have you come back, which I was pretty upset, but my parents, being amazing that they are, they're like, don't worry.
Don't
We don't,
worry. We just want
yeah,
you to be okay. We will
exactly.
support you.
Yes. Yeah. They're like, your health is priority. School
Hmm.
is next, so they're like, do what you
Hmm.
got to do. Don't worry about trying to work. Um, so I did. I just focused a lot on school and that, um, and then fast forward a year later,
Well,
um,
how long were you in Mayo?
I was only up there for like 3 days, thankfully.
And then they're just
I,
like, we cannot figure this out, go home.
yeah, yep, still couldn't. I went through multiple tests. They did, endoscopies where they went down with cameras,
Yep, of
tried to
course.
figure it out. And they're like, well, it could be maybe part of, they call it like the sphincter of the pancreas was closed. So they did what they call like a sphincterotomy where they kind of open up uh, that little opening there. They try to open up a little bit more, see if they could release like the pressure in the pancreas.
Yeah.
Um, but they're very hesitant on doing that. Um, so actually, just a couple months after I had gotten released from Mayo, I ended up having that done in at UW Madison because I was like, I got to try something. So I, tried
Yeah.
other doctors. Mayo Clinic's great for a lot of people. Just unfortunately for me, just I couldn't find any answers that I wanted to. Um, and so I had that done up in Madison, and it did help for a little bit. I did get some relief from that, where I wasn't sick all the time. I didn't have as much of the pain. Um,
Hmm.
but then it still was still on and off, where we got to figure this out. And I was still kind of doctoring at Gunderson Lacrosse, where I was going to school just because it was, convenient for me. And the crazy thing is they just put me on pain medications. They actually had me on morphine, which is insane to give a 20-year-old kid at that point. Morphine pills.
Wow.
Um, Thankfully they just made me sick, so I didn't use them, which I'm glad because yeah,
But I hate
I
that. I hate this like cover
yeah
up the pain thing when you're like, there's something happening.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah yep.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Mayo for a little bit more testing, and I met with, he called himself the head of the pancreas department, and he said, "You're fine. Take antioxidants, and you should be good." So that was
What?
the solution, was just to take antioxidant pills. Yeah. So I'm like, okay.
And he's like the pancreas specialist?
Yeah, he was pretty confident in himself, and I was like, okay, well, this is great, all of this, and all I have to do is take antioxidants, and I should be good.
Yeah, it sounds too good to be true because it is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I was still going through school.
How did those
And
feel,
then
by the way? Like, what did anything happen from those?
no, there was nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't notice even a single, ounce of relief or anything. It was a waste. But
Ugh.
yeah, so then a year later, I went back into the hospital again for the third time.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
and they decided to do another sphincterotomy, trying to relieve that pressure, which has helped before. Um, and um, this was actually at UW, and so they did it. Unfortunately, because I had that done, it made the pancreas mad. So I ended up with another flare up just because of that, which
Yeah.
kind of thought that was going to happen. Um, so they sent me home, was discharged. This flare up came, went back up into the hospital where I was living, going to school at, and watched the Packers win the Super Bowl with my dad from the hospital room. So,
Oh.
I mean, which, all the CNAs and nurses kept coming in there, in my room and hanging out and watching us, and which was
Yeah.
cool. But
You're
yeah,
picking out
so
these little beautiful memories out
yeah,
of out of this whole horror show.
yep, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so then just within the next few years, it was just a lot of doctor's appointments on and off, going to, Gunnarsson. Um, and I would say it was in the spring of 2015. I had an appointment with a pain specialist in July, and they basically said, like, there's nothing that we can do to fix this. We'll just find ways to cope with the pain and the nausea or whatever. So I was like, whatever. But then
You're
that
like, so
forces
this
me.
is my life?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh,
And at that point, I would have been 24.
what a
Um,
helpless feeling.
yeah. So the 4th of July, I ended up in the ER with another flare up. And, we knew one of the ER doctor that was actually on call was one of the doctors that has worked with my mom for many, many years. So they had a good relationship. And, um, we had randomly talked to somebody in our community that had recommended a certain GI doctor at UW that I hadn't seen yet, who had helped
Okay.
her daughter with something completely different. But
Hmm.
so it was an absolute miracle. So my mom was like, "Can you write, a referral to UW?" So he did. And the crazy thing was, 3 days later was when I was supposed to go to the pain specialist, and I got a call from UW, and they said, "We have a cancellation. Can you come on, this day, like July 10th, I think." And that was the day that I was supposed to go to the pain specialist. And otherwise, I would have waited like 3, 4 months to get into this guy at UW, but
And you're
there just
like,
happened
we'll go.
to,
We'll be there.
yeah, yep. So I immediately canceled that pain clinic one, and I went right to UW. And so from there, that doctor, he was awesome. He did some stenting in my pancreas, so just put a little stent like at the opening of it, just to hold some of that pressure open to keep things from building up inside. And um, so we did that for, I think, about 3 times every 6 weeks he would have to redo it. And I was in the hospital for a couple days afterwards just because, again, it just kind of irritated
Wow.
the pancreas. Finally, the last one, I ended up getting another bad flare up with having that in. So he said, okay, that was kind of our last thing to try. He referred me to the transplant clinic at UW and said, I know a phenomenal transplant doctor. There's a certain surgery that they're doing that's kind of new, but I think you would be a good candidate. So hang
Oh
tight.
my
I'm going to
goodness.
call you.
So they're like saying now, okay, they're 100% sure it's a pancreas problem.
Yep.
They know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Is there blood tests that show that kind of too, or is it just other?
So the main thing that it shows is called the lipase, which is your enzymes. So when like the lipase or amylase, that's another enzyme. When those are elevated, that shows that, the pancreas is irritated, something's happening.
Okay.
Mine actually got to the point where it wasn't elevating anymore because it was chronic at this point, and my pancreas was just
Oh.
scarring down just from all of it, over the years. So I got a call from the transplant clinic, and they said, we want you to come in. We've got potential something for you. And they did. So what they ended up doing is they took out my pancreas and my spleen and part of like the upper part of my intestine. They took the
Okay.
pancreas and they blended it, if you will. That's kind of what they say. Just they blended the pancreas.
So they
Um,
took your pancreas out and blended it.
yeah, yeah. So for that
Wow.
reason, it took out the islet cells that are in your pancreas, which controls like your insulin and that. Because I wasn't diabetic at that time.
Okay.
So they took that islet cells and they transplanted that into my liver. Um, so it was like a 9-hour surgery because they had two big surgeons, one taking the organs out and kind of sewing me and getting things back together. And the other one was putting the islet cells back in my liver. Um,
This is so
so
scary.
yeah, so it's
You must
called
have been
a
so scared.
so I was 25 at the time. So, um, and I was like
That's like a
24.
big surgery though.
It's huge. Yeah, it was
That's
leading up to it was
nuts.
very scary. I mean, my parents had to go with me to the pre-op appointments up there. I'd meet with a certain counselor, um, just because they won't go through with it unless I have a good support system, and I'm, healthy otherwise. And of course, my parents are absolutely phenomenal. So, um, yeah, so it's called it's a transplant. So it's an auto islet cell transplant. Um, so auto means like my own, so it's your own cells. So that's my own islet cells.
Wow.
Um, but the crazy part was when they put the islet cells in my liver, my liver pressure was going up too much, and so they had to stop. Otherwise, it would have completely ruined my liver. So they stopped, and the goal was to get 300,000 cells, islet cells, and they only got 50,000,
Ooh.
which is super, super low. So they told my parents that night I was going to be a severe diabetic. Unfortunately, like they didn't get what they wanted to. Um, I was on an insulin drip until that next day. I didn't need insulin anymore, um, which took them back to the drawing board. One of the
Wow.
one of the surgeons met my mom in the elevator when she was going out to the cafeteria, and he said it's a miracle. He said we have no idea why that happened, like why I'm not a severe diabetic or why I didn't need insulin after that. Um, but I had a lot of prayers from my hometown. So living in a small town, I had every church was praying for me. I had so many people.
Oh.
And so somebody actually told my mom, like, if you think about it, in the Bible, when Jesus had one, fish, one bread, and all of a sudden, like, he multiplied it. So they're like, well, maybe that was it. So
And we shouldn't be
it's
surprised
crazy.
by these miracles.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, um, the recovery was awful. It was 3 months. And I was working as a full-time physical therapist assistant at this time. I started when I was, um, right out of college. I was 21. So, backing up just a little bit, when I first got out of college, I had gotten a job at, a nursing home, right the next town over. So I moved home and, did that. And then a year later, I got a call that there was an opening, in my hometown in the physical therapy department, which is where I had my knee surgeries, which is where I decided I wanted to be a
Oh,
PTA. So it was like complete full circle. But the amazing thing was my coworkers, my boss at the time, everything, they were just so supportive of all of it. So that definitely made, my recovery a lot better,
oh
which is
my
awesome.
goodness.
So
So
it was a
they
rough,
did that, and then
yeah.
obviously that was like a crazy recovery, but did you
hmm
finally feel like at peace, like you knew now, like this is going to be what takes care of it? Did
Yeah.
you start feeling better in that way and you were like, okay,
Yeah.
this I think this solved the problem?
Yes. Yeah. And so I started feeling better once I got back on my feet. Like I said, it was about 12 weeks and I was back to work, working full time again after that. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And so, I was talking to one of the doctors. I'm like, why? Like, why? How did this happen? Like, you know, they couldn't figure anything out, but it was, I was still having all these pancreas issues. And they said that ended up being something that's genetic and it's called like pancreatic divism. So it's something within the pancreas that happens at birth. And only like 10% of people that get it, um, actually show symptoms. So somebody in my family along the line had it and I was passed on, but I was the lucky one that had
That had
gotten the,
symptoms.
yeah, that had the symptoms, um, but it's definitely
Wow.
that, made me resilient. And I had somebody, at the church that said, you're going through this, you're taking the load of the illnesses of other people. So, meaning, I'm suffering and I was suffering so that other people didn't have to go through certain, health issues and that. So that kind of helped me through the recovery too,
See a purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
And now
But
you're here sharing your story with other people who are like, I'm never going to get this problem solved. And
yes,
there's hope. But
yep,
it sounds like you were a warrior this entire time. Like,
yeah.
you're such a tough girl. You just kept going through all
Did.
of this. Like, it feels like you should have been laid out the whole time, and somehow you're finishing college. And
Yeah. And yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, a year later, I ended up, having another surgery, because it was something that was new. I was having issues where when they rerouted things, they took the intestine, it was going right into, my liver. My liver bile was sitting in my stomach. So
oh,
they did what they call a Roux-en-Y, which is what, when people have, bariatric surgery, it's technically the same thing. They take out part of the intestines and then they create a Y. So coming down from the liver and the stomach, and then it meets and then it continues on throughout. Um, so I was the guinea pig for that. But I felt better. I felt
yeah.
better again after that. Then, I mean, unfortunately, because of the surgeries and that, I have a lot of nerve pain, still some nausea on and off. Just 2 years ago, I actually had a third surgery, just because I had scar tissue from all that, and, my stomach was adhered to my abdominal wall, so that was creating more nausea. And then, I ended up, becoming a type 1 diabetic, in 2018. fall of 22. Yeah, fall of 22. Just because I didn't have a
Okay.
lot of islet cells, they die out over time. So I really don't have anything now. But they consider what's called a type 3C. So because I don't have a pancreas at all, I don't have any type of control with my blood sugars. So,
Wow.
but I mean, I'm on an insulin pump and I've got a glucose monitor, so that makes life much easier.
Just
You know,
watching it all the time.
yeah, and I honestly, it was kind of an eye opener because I never really knew what diabetics went through. I just thought,
Yeah.
they have high blood sugar, they take insulin, they watch their carbs, that's it. But now I understand that there's way more to it.
Oh, it's like a
And there's
full-time gig.
it is absolutely, yeah, 100%. It is. I mean, it's constantly thinking about, how much insulin you're going to take, how much, I mean, a little bit can be too much, a little bit can also be, not enough. And, but, I still deal with some pain and nausea, but it's something that I've learned to deal with. And it's to the point where I'm like, I'm still living everyday life. There's nothing that stops me from doing. I will, like I said, I do personal training on the side. I've got a nutrition coaching business that I'm running and starting up, and I teach fitness classes, and
Yeah.
so I still get to be active. I still get to, do all the things I love to do and want to do, and so it's hard to get down about, still having that, and it's something that I'll always live with, but like I said, there's, the alternative, and a lot
Yeah.
of people that go through that, they end up on disability, but that's nothing that's going to happen to me because I won't let that happen.
Yeah,
Um,
you're gonna fight that no matter what, I can tell.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my parents have always said
Hmm.
that I've been stubborn and independent since I was a little girl, so I think that just carried
There's
on through life.
benefits.
So, yeah, yeah,
Well,
but
you can play the victim or you can rise above, right? And it just really sounds
absolutely.
like you've made that choice the whole
Mhm.
entire
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And you've had this amazing attitude. And now you don't have a pancreas and you don't have a
No.
gallbladder
No.
and
Or a liver, or excuse me, or
or
a
a
spleen. A
spleen.
spleen. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
basically, you're dealing with some diabetic issues, which you kind of uh,
Yeah.
foresaw.
Yeah.
But I mean, it kind of seems crazy. Like you're eating
Mhm.
okay and you're,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
look what our
I take,
bodies can do without some
yeah,
body parts.
it's incredible. I mean, there's so many people throughout the time they're like, you can't live without a pancreas. I'm like, well, yeah, you can because I'm here. It's possible.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, I mean, I take digestive enzymes every time I
Yeah,
eat. I have to take them, which who cares?
who
Whatever. I can still
cares?
eat.
I'm
I'm not
taking those
impeding food.
too. I
Are
take those.
you?
I take enzymes all
Which,
the time, and I
yeah,
have all those things. I just thought they were just good for you.
and it is. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I actually recommend, taking extra digestive enzymes just because of the foods we eat and whatever the inflammation that causes, you know, causes
Yeah.
everything to slow down and whatnot. But I would say through all of this, I so grateful for my friends and family, and there's no way I could have gotten through this without them. I mean, like my parents, I mean, I had to move home when I had my surgeries for a couple months until I could get back on my feet. And I mean, they were incredible. Um, when I had my transplant, when I got home, I mean, I couldn't get out of bed by myself, and I was really sick that just going to the bathroom and back that was enough. That's all I could do. And my dad went and bought a zero gravity lounger so I could get outside and sit outside. And we had a black lab at the time. He was an older dog at the time, but he never left my side. And
Oh,
it was
of
pretty cool.
course
Like
he didn't.
and it was, and of course it was sunny, no rain for like 14 days straight after I got home. And he did not
Of
want to be
course.
outside. He would get up and walk to the bathroom with me, lay down outside, when I came out, he would go right back,
He
which was
just
kind of
knew.
cool.
He
But
knew. They have
yeah,
instincts and he was right there for you. And he
yeah,
was your little support dog. How sweet is that? Dogs are
yeah.
so amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah, yeah. It's crazy how much they know. But yeah. And I
And
mean, I've dealt with through that time. I mean, I lost faith. I went through some depression, anxiety, not knowing what my future was going to be, and
Mhm.
I would always talk to my mom, like, how do I get in a relationship with somebody if I'm dealing with this? Nobody's gonna want to deal with it. And, I, dated some guys that were like that, where they're like, nope, like, I'm not gonna deal with this. Cause there'd be times where I'd just be like, I'm just not feeling good. Like, I, don't want to go and do anything. Um, and they didn't. So I'm like, this is never gonna happen. And my mom, she's always right. And she just said, one day you're gonna find somebody, and it's the moment that they understand what's going on with you is gonna be the one. And I found
and
him.
they're going to be fine with it. And you
Yep.
found him.
I found him. Yep. And we just got married this last July,
And
and
that's
we
just
get to.
all part of you. And he loves
It
that.
is. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yep. So it's been
Sometimes
incredible.
that's how you weed out the ones. You
Yes.
probably just helped yourself
Yeah.
make some
It's true.
decisions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's those
Absolutely.
hard things that help you, I think, just like have clarity with, okay, well, this one isn't for me then. You
Yep.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's been crazy. It's just
Wow.
and with my patients, I have patients who deal with type 1 diabetes or who deal with chronic issues overall, and I can kind of relate to them, be like, yep, I completely understand, and so I have a little more, empathy for those patients or for patients in general, just because I was one for so long.
No
Um,
kidding. How long
so
did that
yeah.
go? Kind of from start until the I guess that surgery where they blended everything and did the main gig. How long
Right?
was that? That was like a
Um,
pretty long span of time, wasn't it?
yeah, it was 6 years from 19 when it started. I was 25 when I had that done. And the crazy thing is, a year before I had that done, almost a year exactly, there was a girl on the news station who was 25 at the time, had this surgery, and so they talked about it. And I was like, that's just crazy. And somebody shared that with me. I'm like, well, that's crazy. Never would think of anything like that. And then come to find out a year later, I was going through the same thing. But she ended up being my mentor. So her transplant coordinator was the same one that I had, and so she's like, I'm gonna set you up with her. You can talk to her. And she just kind of laid it all out for me. Like, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be hard. Which I really appreciated that ahead of time, because I knew going into it, it was not gonna be an easy feat. But she was the same thing. She was, living in Colorado, skiing, hiking, doing all that. So that was kind of like, all right,
She gave
I
you
do that.
hope.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but
Wow.
yeah, the doctors are heroes, that's for sure. And I've heard a lot of stories since then of the crazy surgeries they've done, and it's pretty cool.
It is
Yeah,
really cool. I mean,
yeah.
I can't imagine how you felt going through all of that. But
Hmm.
just looking at the big picture and what doctors can do, I do often look at that and go like, that's insane.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You never would think anything like that. I mean, we're living in the age of modern medicine. There's new things coming out, and which is pretty cool. But
There would have been a time
yeah,
that would have never been an option for you, you
right.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, I never
Wow.
would have thought anything, but
And now you're
yeah.
just beautiful and
Oh, thank
thriving
you.
and you look so
Yeah.
happy. And
Yeah.
I'm just so
I am.
happy that, you met someone, you're
Yep.
person, clearly your
Yep.
person. And, I can't imagine um how anybody does it without a support group like that.
Yeah. You can't. Or if you don't have faith, I mean, that's another thing too. I feel like
Yep.
there's times, like I said, where, you lose it or you question it because you go through the hard times, but
Because you're a human.
yeah, but everything happens for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the
And
reason why we come on.
you definitely have been resilient and made lemonade out of lemons, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
but it's kind of fun. It's fun to tell people I don't have a pancreas. I don't have a spleen.
I don't
Wait,
even have anything in there. You can do
right?
it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Wow. No, that
Yeah.
inspires me. It inspires me. And honestly, the reason we tell these stories is I guess there's a few things, but there's nothing like seeing people go through crazy hard times
Mhm.
and making something beautiful or helping people. And I know even
Yeah.
it's probably good for you to share this story too, but it's really
Mhm.
helpful to other people to see that like there's hope. We can come out of
Yeah.
the other end, you know?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
And you're
And
thriving today.
yeah, and I think, one thing is it's just a mindset of what we think and what we do when we wake up every day. It's I get to get up and go to work. I get to go work out. I get to, play with our dogs. I get to, go do things with my husband and my family. And, there's people who are, disabled that they can't do that. And that definitely found that out when I was laid up recovering, where I'm like, I want to work out so bad. I want, and
Your spirit is ahead of the body.
yeah, and you gotta. I mean, it's mind over matter, mind over body. I mean, it's definitely
Hmm.
true. When you kind of change that mindset, and you're like, you know what? I get to do this. There's people that absolutely can't. They're suffering from horrible illnesses. And but I get to do this, so
But
I should
now
just
you
be
must,
grateful.
yeah, you must be. It's like when you go through something super hard and then you come out the other end of it, it's like that's when you can't take it for granted anymore,
Yeah, absolutely,
right? Now you
100%.
do
Yeah,
not take a day for granted, do you? Like,
you can't. Mm-mm. Nope.
yeah.
Or just the little things. To get up and walk around. I mean, there's when I was almost bedridden, I'm like, you know, yeah, just getting up and getting out of bed. Who would have thought that, I wasn't going to be able to do that
So
for a little
grateful for
bit. And
everything.
yeah, yeah, I can get out of bed on my own. I can put my feet on the floor and I can start my day, do what I
Oh,
want to do. So,
you're
yeah,
awesome. I love this story, and hopefully we can stay in touch, and I can
yes,
see how you're doing.
yes, yes. Well,
I love.
Canada's on my bucket list to go do some work for. And so now that I can travel, you know,
I
yeah.
agree. And now because you don't take things for granted, it's like let's do it.
Hmm.
Let's do the things because we don't know what a day is going to bring forth, right? But
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
well, I just appreciate you coming and like having this chat with me and sharing with all of us because you're such an inspiration.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I couldn't be more grateful for you and your story. And I'm sorry that you went through all of that, but
Yeah.
we do know there's a reason for everything, right? And
Absolutely.
I'm glad
Yeah.
that you know that.